Good evening from room 217 of the Travel Lodge in Hawthorne, Nevada. Are we doing this? I think we're just doing it. Hang on a sec. I've been having some technical difficulties getting my system up and running here in the hotel room. I need a drink. That is better. I got this big monitor on top of the camera, so I'm occasionally looking at it to make sure I'm in focus. I'm also using a camera I've never used before. This is the first time ever using this camera. This camera is so new, it's not even available to the general public. It was loaned to me by the manufacturer, and I'm not even going to say what it is. But maybe in the future I'll have a video using this camera. This is my trial run. I'm going to do a Q&A. And look, you guys showed up with a lot of questions, so I'm just going to get down to this and not blab too much because I need to get this done and have it not be 46 hours long because I got to work in the morning. I'm up here in Nevada again, another stint making this little TV show. Maybe I'll talk about it, maybe I won't. I've only got a few days left. I'm having a pretty good time, but I thought I would take this evening to answer some questions for y'all. And if you stay tuned all the way to the end, I'm gonna show you a mini preview of some coming attractions. How's the shot? How's my lighting? If you guys knew what I actually did to get this hotel room kind of lit with kind of what I have available to me in my hotel room, you would not respect me so much. That's okay, you don't have to see it. Okay, questions. They're on my phone here. Here we go. I'm thirsty. From Robin H. Hi, Robin. Thank you for responding. Thank you for showing up. Question number 1, which is actually like 3 questions. This is a lot. This is probably the whole video right here. Robin H. says, so many questions. I'd like to know what preparation you do or not before visiting a new location to shoot. I'd also like to know the best photographic tip, secret, you've ever been told and your favorite technique that people might not know. Oh, and while we are at it, what are your top 3 to 5 bucket list locations you'd like to visit to photograph? Holy crap, Robin, you really went over your quota, but I'm gonna tackle it. I'd like to know what preparation you do or not before visiting a new location to shoot. I mean, it depends. If we're talking about photography, you know, I'm not a professional photographer. I've never claimed to be. People do pay me sometimes to take pictures. I'm not trying to be a professional photographer. Photography is my medium of expression, for personal expression. It's kind of what I do for fun. In my real world, what I'm doing here right now for work is I'm making a TV show. I'm the director of photography. So are those things aligned? Yes, I'm a cinematographer. I'm in charge of the visual look of this series that we're doing. Do I scout locations before we use them? I try really hard. Oftentimes schedules don't allow you to, or the budget doesn't allow you extra time to do prep. But many times there is time for that. So the answer, Robin, to that first question is, do I visit a place before I shoot there? I try really hard to. And a lot of times I'm visiting places and just kind of logging them in my brain and going, ooh, maybe I'll come back there and shoot. Is this looking a little hot? Let me just adjust my light here. Ooh, I like that better. Oh yeah. So yes, Robin, I try and visit a spot, whether it's for, you know, if I'm gonna shoot some portraits there or if I'm making a show and I'm gonna shoot there, I try and do that first. Dude, my shot is looking a little crooked too. Hang on, guys. This is really bumming me out. Oh, there we go. I can't be talking about how I'm a cinematographer and I got a crooked shot here. That would just not be good. And I had everything lined up and then I was having some technical difficulties because I've never used this camera before. I was trying to test the audio and do playback and I was having a bitch of a time. I figured it out. Sort of adjusted my framing a little bit. I'm not quite happy with this, but we're going for it now. So it is what it is. All right, I'm probably gonna cut that part out. More beer. The second part of Robin's question, I'd also like to know the best photographic tip secret you've ever been told and your favorite technique that people might not know. I don't know what my favorite thing I've been told. You know, okay, I'm gonna tell you 2 things. Well, my favorite tip, this is the tip I tell everybody else. I don't know who told me this. Nobody told me this. I just learned this the hard way. I learn everything the hard way. Trust your instincts. Trust your instincts. Your instinct's a muscle. I was thinking of doing a whole video on this actually, a whole damn video. I could probably talk about this for 20 minutes. Trust your instincts, people. Where do your instincts come from? Your instincts come from being in a lot of different situations and living life and making mistakes and learning and getting beat up and getting kicked around, having things not work out. Pretty soon you start developing a spidey sense. You got to be out in the world. You got to do things. You got to feel things. You got to live things. This strengthens your instincts, all right? And your instinct is a muscle. So if you use it, if you listen to it, it gets stronger. It pays off, okay? If you kind of go, I got a feeling about this, I'm not really sure, and you ignore that and you charge forward, and then you get burned, that probably strengthens your instincts too. Maybe you go, well, next time I feel that way, I'm gonna listen. And instead of going left, I'm gonna go right, or whatever it is. I just had a pretty lengthy job for many months actually, and I had this weird ping with my instincts right at the beginning, and I was kind of like, I don't know about this. And I learned later that that initial ping that I had in the first 10 seconds, of the first meeting about the project, had I listened to my instincts instead of just taking the job, maybe if I had listened to my instincts, I would have not taken the job. I don't know. My instincts were right. My instincts told me in those first 10 seconds what was to come, and I didn't listen. And later, my instincts said, look, sucker, you were right. We were telling you. We were broadcasting to you. So trust your instincts about people, about locations, about where you should go, where you shouldn't go, what you should do. Your instincts are they're gonna feed you all kinds of data. They're downloading to you 24/7. Trust your instincts. Trust your gut feeling. And if you haven't done very much and you haven't really left your small town and you haven't been out in the world, maybe your instincts aren't quite as strong. You got to get out there and you got to make mistakes and you got to get your ass kicked for your instincts to be stronger. But when you have that gut feeling, trust it. I've said enough. Here's one more thing. Here's what I think about when I think about advice. I had this mentor early on, Chuck. Chuck was a really, really professional cinematographer, and he taught me a lot of stuff early on. He has done really big movies, way bigger stuff than I've ever done, probably ever will do. I mean, he shot like movies with Julia Roberts and stuff. Big, tons of big A-list movies with huge movie stars and huge projects that many of you have seen. I think he's retired now, but one time Chuck invited me on set several times. I watched him work, I sat in DI with him. He was on hand a couple times when I was lighting things early on and gave me tips. And one time I started off doing documentaries, and so I was setting up an interview for a guy. And it's basically a headshot, right? When you're doing like a sit-down interview with someone, it's like I'm really getting in the weeds here, folks, but that's what this is. You want to know, you want to ask me questions, I'm going to give you answers. This is what's in my brain, this is my experience, this is what I'm doing. I don't know if this is relevant in what you want to hear about, but I'm going to tell you this story. Okay, so we got that out of the way. Here's the story. So I'm setting up this talking head interview for this guy, and Chuck happened to be on hand. And you set up a talking head interview with someone, which is what you do a lot in documentaries. That's like lighting a portrait. It's like a portrait that moves, right? That's why I got into portrait photography, because I started off doing a lot of that with the early documentary work that I did. Well, I said, hey, Chuck, come over here. What do you think of my shot? And he looked at it and he goes, and I was kind of in a hurry, but he was there and I'm like, I wanted his opinion. Like, how can I make this better? And he looked at it right away and he says, your camera's too low. You got to raise the camera. And I said, well, yeah, I knew that, but I just thought it would take too long, and he goes, take the time. I think about that all the time. Take the time. Take that extra couple seconds to raise the camera and to make it a little better and go the extra mile. If you feel it, that goes back to instinct. In my instinct, I knew the camera was too low and I'm just like, we'll get away with it. I'm kind of in a hurry. There's time. I've only got this guy for half an hour. I've got to get this interview. Boom, boom, boom. Take a moment, raise the camera, make it that much better. And Chuck saw that instantly and he knew it. So My instincts told me that initially, and I didn't listen to them. So there you go. Okay, we're only into one question here. And while you're at it, what are your top 3 to 5 bucket list locations you'd like to visit, to photograph? I don't know. I don't really think this way, but I want to go to Namibia. If you saw one of my early videos, I went to Namibia and for a job, and the job was canceled because of COVID, and I had planned on staying longer on my own to go explore Namibia. It's this massive desert country in Africa, and it's all these sand dunes, and it's real remote, and it's sparsely populated, and I just want to frickin' go there. It inspires me. I'm inspired by the desert and that stark landscape. It's so exotic. I grew up in Alaska, in the cold and in the wilds there, and so desert locations always really inspire me, and I want to explore them. Namibia is a place I want to go. It's much like Dune, if you just saw Dune. Dune just came out. I also want to go to South America, like South America, like down Argentina and Chile, way down south, Patagonia. There's deserts down there, there's big mountain ranges. It's real wild, sparsely populated country, and I want to go down there. So those are some places that I want to visit. Okay, next question. I hope you got your money's worth there, Robin. The next one's from Luke Barth. Why is art important? And number 2, still happy with the Q2 after 2 years. How about a meat and potatoes part 2? Luke. Okay, everybody's asking more than one question. I don't know. I didn't tell you guys you could do this, and you just thought you could haul off and ask more than one question per comment? Okay, fine. Why is art important? Oh boy, turning the tables on me. Because this is what I've been asking everybody in my little portrait videos. Why is art important? I'll just tell you why art's important to me. I need to be doing something creative on a daily basis very, very often, or I get really unhappy. So for me, it's kind of my therapy. I need to express myself. I need to create, or I just start being really miserable. And that's just how I'm built. So that's why art's important to me. I've got to make art. I've got to create, or I get really unhappy. And that's just how I'm wired. A lot of people aren't that way. A lot of people, maybe they are into like stocks or building businesses, and they want to make money, or they want to do other things. I don't know. I want to draw. I want to write. I want to take pictures. I want to make movies. If I don't get to do that kind of stuff all the time, I get really unhappy. It's what fuels me. It's what motivates me. It's what inspires me. It's what keeps me going. Still happy with the Q2 after 2 years. Yeah, I like my Q2. It's kind of beat up. I think I need to send it in and get it, it's doing little quirky things. I think I need to send it in and get it kind of serviced at Leica. I'm happy with it. I've been dreaming of having a longer focal length lately and doing some projects like that. I don't know. I don't have any plans on getting a different digital camera anytime soon. I probably won't. I have plans on getting a good cinema camera, maybe like the one I'm using now, but if I like it. Right now I'm more focused on thinking about wanting to make films and motion projects more than stills. Yeah, but I'm happy with my Q2. I love it. I'm going to take it everywhere. Meat and Potatoes Volume Part 2. I don't think so, but I think I might make a video about, I've been thinking about this lately. There's a lot of pictures you guys haven't seen. You've seen a lot of pictures on the channel. All my videos are about the Q2. Who fucking cares, right? It's just a camera. It's not what I'm all about, but it is a good adventure camera, and I have taken it all over the world in the last year, and I've got a lot of work that I haven't shown anyone. And I thought about making a video about why it's my favorite adventure camera, because it is. It's a great take everywhere adventure camera. Maybe I'll do that soon if I have time, if I care. I don't know. I have other shit I want to do more, like drink beer and make a movie. Andy Pugh. I'm probably fucking up your name, Andy. I'm sorry, but thanks for commenting and asking a question. Photography, art or craft, or both, or neither? Is there a difference? Does it matter? Art and craft, photography, which one is it? It's both. Like anything creative is a craft first, and you have to master the craft before you can make the art. That's how I feel. Think about martial arts, right? It's an art, but you have to learn the craft. You have to learn the motion. You have to learn the physicality. Later, when you master that, it can become an art for you, right? It becomes second nature. It becomes something intuitive because you have learned the craft of it and you've learned the motions and the physicality. You're able to tap into the flow, this greater thing, this greater source that allows these things to move through you, and you can express it now as an art. Photography is the same way. You need to learn the craft of it. You need to learn the technicals. You need to do a whole lot of it. You need to pull that trigger a lot of times and try a lot of different things, and you need to fail, and you need to constantly work at it. And then maybe, if you try hard enough and long enough, you can make something that someone might call art. I think the word art is thrown around a lot. I threw it around in the title of this damn YouTube channel. But I don't take the word art lightly. Art is something I'm striving for and rarely achieving, from my estimation. So learn the craft. If you learn the craft enough, perhaps, if everything aligns, someday you'll make some art. Wild and Story. Hey man, thanks for showing up. Wild and Story asks, how did you get into documentary filmmaking? How do you prepare for each assignment? Do you have a go-to shot list on location? Do you have any personal photo projects on the go at the moment? How have you found using only the Q2? Damn it, Wild and Story. That's like 5 effing questions. You guys are really going off. How did you get into documentary filmmaking? You know, I was talking about my friend Chuck, who is a cinematographer. Well, I met him through my friend Edmund. Edmund was a screenwriter and a friend of mine. I met him through climbing. I'm a climber, rock climber, and a mountain climber. I used to do that a lot in my younger years. And so when I moved to California, I didn't know anybody, but I met some climbers. And one of them was this guy, Edmund, and he was a screenwriter, wrote a lot of TV, and we became good friends. We're still good friends to this day. He's retired. He lives in Utah now. Well, Edmund knew that I was trying to make things, and I was just starting to learn about cameras. I was in my 20s. I did start learning and got better and better, and then Edmund, one day, we started working together, and I learned a lot from him because he was a writer and had written a crap load of TV. And then I knew a little bit, I started learning a little bit about cameras, and then he had this friend, Chuck, who was a cinematographer, who taught me more. So with those guys and with Edmund, we started doing these little documentary projects for nonprofits, for like labor unions, and like kind of, I don't want to say corporate messaging, but we were basically making these little videos advocating for workers' rights, and we would just go around and we'd film people and talk about why workers' rights were important and advocating for their labor unions. It sounds pretty boring, but I learned a ton, and we would basically have to fly out or drop into some place in some strange town and film some people for a day or 2 days, and then go back, and I'd have to sit down and edit it in like a day or 2 days, and we'd have to have a 10 or a 15-minute video. And we had to do that, and we had to frickin' deliver it. And so I didn't know how to do any of that stuff, and I just kind of learned on the go, and I figured it out, and that was a long time ago. If I hadn't done those early weird little projects, I probably wouldn't be making TV like I am now. And 100%, I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have got here, but I'm not so sure I would have. That was absolutely formative for me. So that's how I got into actually the nuts and bolts of documentary filmmaking. I've always wanted to make documentaries since I was young, but I didn't know how. That's how I actually put my feet to the fire and had to deliver something. When you actually have a deadline and you have people asking you to deliver something, well, you better figure it out. It's sink or swim. And I guess somehow I made it through that, and I'm doing what I'm doing now. Even if you think something is like dumb or not as good as what you want to do, maybe you're making wedding videos, or you're making, I don't know, videos for your local candy store. I don't know, real estate videos. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's a job. You're learning your craft. It's an opportunity to get better. In your own time, work on your own stuff. Get better and better and better and keep pushing. That's all I did. Now I'm making TV. Right now I'm making a series for the channel, all right? I've made hundreds of hours of TV that's been broadcast around the world and streamed. And I'm still, in my own time, doing my own projects. I started off just doing little things for hardly any money and doing my own personal projects. Now I'm doing big series that are seen by millions of people, but I'm doing my own projects in my own time. I won't stop. I won't ever stop. How do you prepare for each assignment? Do you have a go-to shot list on location? I like to prepare. Sometimes you have time to prepare and shot list things. Sometimes you don't. So I sort of answered this earlier. You know, like here, I showed up here and I had one day. And the director was here. He's a good friend of mine. We've worked together a ton, so we have a shorthand. But I had one day, and him and I drove around out in the desert and visited a bunch of locations and talked about the possibilities of how we could stage scenes and how we could do things. went into some caves, did a bunch of wacky shit, and that really helped because then we showed up and visited these locations over the course of the next few weeks. I had already been to many of them, and I had thought about what we were going to do and what we needed to do, and I was able to do it better. So it's always good to have time to prepare. Moral of the story. Do you have any personal photo projects on the go at the moment? I mean, nothing big. I'm thinking of, I've been driving around in the desert a lot and filming like old abandoned places. That's kind of a cliche, but I kind of do it in my own way, and I'm really inspired by the Mojave, which is close to where I live, and so I like driving around out there and taking black and white film photos. And lately I've been kind of attacking portraits a lot more. You've seen that in some of the videos, and there's some coming up and things that I have scheduled that I haven't shot yet that I'm excited about. I'm looking at going to what I would call phase 3 of my portraits and trying to really change things up and do things that I haven't done before. This is only so that I can grow as an artist. I'm not trying to be a professional portrait photographer or anything, but maybe some of that you're going to see in the channel or on my social channels. Probably not on social as much. I haven't really been on social very much, but yes. Personally, I'm into kind of pushing my portraiture to a different level or into places that I haven't gone before. And I'm still in my free time driving around in the desert and trying to find things, to photograph. Beer. Dude, I'm almost drank the first beer. This is taking a long time. Have you found using only the Q2? It's fine. It's not the only camera I use. I shoot a lot of film too. I have an M6, my Leica M6. I have a Nikon F4 that I use sometimes for portraits. I have an Olympus XA1. I actually have a Pentax K1000 that I've only used a few times, but I may actually do a video coming up where I compare the Pentax, which is a $100 camera, to my Leica M6, which is a several $1,000 camera. I'm kind of thinking of doing that. A, because it'd be interesting. B, that's just a really good clickbaity title, and you know, a lot of people look at that video. Not that I give a shit, but I'm kind of interested to see. That will get some people to look at it, and frankly, I want to see what the difference is. I want to see what my $1,500 Summicron lens will do with the same shot, you know, next to like my $100 little Pentax lens. I'm curious about that actually. Thanks, Wild and Story. Moving on to Pascal Gauche. A photo, as long as it's not printed, is only a file. What would the inspire to you? Pascal's from Switzerland. I think there's an English issue here. What would that inspire to you? Are you printing your pictures as well? Cheers from Switzerland. Pascal, thank you, bro. I think there's a little bit of a translation issue here. Am I printing my pictures as well? I do print my pictures. I occasionally sell prints. People contact me through social media or whatever, or I'll print things and I'll give them to people. I want to print more. I don't print enough. I've just been so busy with work. I do have a little print shop. If you look in the notes, it's like a print on demand kind of service, and I've sold a few off there, not very many. I'm thinking of doing some limited series or some collections coming up. It's just that I just haven't had a lot of time. My work takes a ton of time. I haven't taken the time or had the time to really focus on trying to monetize my art that much, or to sell prints or to do that. I do like to see my work in print, and it's a different level, and it's something that I feel like I'm not taking advantage of that aspect of photography. And I know that about myself, and it's a place that I want to go. I want to print more. Thank you, Pascal. Does photography make you a better writer or vice versa? That's from Anders Holst Samuelson. Does photography make you a better writer and or vice versa? Maybe. I think it's all connected. It's all doing the same thing, kind of. If you're writing, you know, you're painting pictures. You're creating things that exist only in someone's mind. I get really inspired to write by seeing a photograph. I get really inspired to photograph by reading some beautiful words. I think it's all connected. You're accessing different areas of your brain. You're expressing yourself differently. But I feel like it's all coming from the same source. There is some universal source out there. You can call it anything you want. But you know, if you want to tap into that source, you've got to apply yourself. You've got to try over and over and over, and you've got to fail and fail and fail. And you've got to keep trying, and you've got to keep perfecting that craft. And if you perfect the craft, maybe you'll tap into the source and you'll make some art. And that goes for writing, and it goes for photography, and it goes for many other things as well. Painting, music, you name it. Thank you, Anders. Heinrich Biera. Hope I said that right, Heinrich. What is your process for taking portraits of strangers? I don't know. I mean, I've done a lot of videos about this. What is my process? The process is different, I guess, depends on where I'm at, what I'm doing. But if I see someone and I really want to photograph them and I have my camera, I'll just go up and try and strike up a conversation with them if they speak English. If I'm in a country where they don't speak English, and I've talked about this in videos, you guys have probably seen it, I point to my camera, I have my whole process. Hey, can I take your picture? But I try and make a connection with people. I try and first just approach them as a person with a smile on my face and with some interest in them, who they are, not just like, can I capture your photo and then leave? Who cares, right? But if you can actually connect with a stranger and share some kind of understanding or some kind of connection, some kind of shared moment, and then if you can add a photograph into that to sort of commemorate it, that's super cool. I just try and be genuine with people, and I try and be honest, and I try and be open, and I try and be friendly and unthreatening, and have some empathy, have some compassion, have some understanding. I try and think about what can I learn from someone. We have all so much to learn. We can learn so much from each other. We can learn from strangers. That's a whole other topic. Hope that answers your question, Heinrich. Thank you for offering it. That's a funny name. So why the name Heisenberg? Oh, I see where we're going with that. Joe L. Will you make a book when you retire? When I retire, I don't know that I ever will retire. I can't even imagine a retirement. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep making films. I'm going to keep taking pictures until I can't do it anymore. I hope to make a book sooner. I wish I had made a book already. I have several books in my brain. I'm hoping within the next 6 months or a year, I can at least make some kind of zine or a book or something I can offer to some of the viewers. I've made some little test books in the past, but I haven't really gone as deep as I want to. I want to start self-publishing some kind of little books or magazines or something, because I do produce a pretty enormous amount of work, and I want to share that. And I'm pissed off at myself that I haven't done it already. I hope that I actually do it soon, and much sooner than when I retire, because I'll probably never retire. RS, are your models personal friends, or do you just run into them? I think is what you meant to say, RS. Many of the people that you would see me photograph on the channel are personal friends, or if you look at my social media, yeah. And if you look at my video where I talk about my studio and how I first started shooting at my studio, I started off with my friends because, what do? You call up your friends. And I'm living in Los Angeles. I know a lot of actors and models and creative, interesting, beautiful people. So that's where I started. Now I'm still reaching out to my friends, people I've photographed in the past. A lot of people reach out to me on social media, or I'll strike up a conversation or get to know someone there, and then it's like, hey, let's take some pictures. So it's that, or friends of friends, or people I know, or know other people that I know, or whatever. It's a mix of all those. I hope that answers your question, RS. Thank you so much for asking. Stephen Kremer, what is your favorite movie? I love movies. It's hard for me even to have like a top favorite movie, or a top 5, or a top 10 even. But if I had to pick a movie that's my favorite, the first movie I ever saw in a theater was Star Wars, and I was 5 years old. I'm that old. I finished my beer. The second movie I ever saw in a theater, so my mother took me to see Star Wars. My father took me to my second movie, which was Alien. And I remember specifically, he said, hey, do you want to go shopping and buy some toys, or do you want to go to the movies? And I wanted to go to the movies. I would rather go see a movie than have a toy. And I was 6 years old. So I think he must have just picked the space movie, thinking I would like that. I can't imagine why anyone would take a 6-year-old to see Alien. I'd ask that guy, but he's dead. He's been dead since I was 6 years old. So I don't know why my dad took me to see Alien when I was 6, but I think it's my favorite movie. I think it's a near perfect movie. where Star Wars was the dream, and I love Star Wars. I'm the Star Wars generation from the originals, so I love Star Wars. Star Wars was the dream. Alien was the nightmare. And I love it. I think it's a perfect film. I think it's visionary. Ridley Scott's one of my favorite directors. I could go on and on about Alien. I remember the next day telling my mother about the movie I had seen, and the thing that I was telling her was about Ash, who's the android. When he flips out and starts attacking the crew of the Nostromo, and then they fight back against him, and they attack him with a fire hydrant and basically bash his head off of his body, and his head is detached, and he's sitting there talking to him, and the white mucus is coming out of his fluid is coming out of his body, and he's basically telling him, you guys are fucked. That scene and those images just stayed in my head. And I remember telling my mother about that the next day, 6 years old. Yeah, and there was this guy and his head came off. And I don't think she was too happy. It's funny, when I moved to LA 20 plus years later to try and learn how to make films, not knowing a damn thing about it, the first person that gave me a job was this guy Barney, who was the son of the actor that played Ash the android in Alien, who was Ian Holm. His son Barney gave me my first job. It's kind of a weird synchronicity there. I didn't even know that for like 6 months, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was your dad? He also played Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit and all those movies, Lord of the Rings. Very famous actor. Anyways, I could go on and on about movies because I love movies more than anything. Alien, I think, is my favorite movie. It's a masterpiece. Please talk, this is from Matthew Hewitt. Please talk a little about making, building connections with people you photograph. How does the artist make a muse? I couldn't think of a better word. Comfortable turning themselves inside out. I better hurry up and get through this. I am just being so long-winded. I'm gonna have another beer. I'm drinking this tangerine beer. This tangerine wheat beer. It's really good. Oh, I'm gonna have another one. Oh yeah, nice. Please talk about making, building connections with people you photograph. Look, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that in my opinion, and look, all this shit in this video is just my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm just one dude. Who cares, right? This is just what I think. Obviously, I think you've watched some of my videos, Matthew, and you know that I think that the connection that you make with the person you're photographing is the most important thing. How do you do it? It's different with everybody because we're all different, right? We're like different flavors and we mix with each other. It's different chemical reactions. Some people you have a chemistry with and some people you don't. If you don't have a chemistry with someone or you're not vibing with them, you got to work at it a little more. I've taken really great photos of people I was not vibing with. And then sometimes you just do. You have a feeling about someone and you just have this connection and you're vibing, and then the pictures suck. And that's happened too. The connection doesn't guarantee that the work will be good, but it certainly helps. How do I establish a connection? I just try and really be genuine. I try and just really be open, and I try and listen, and I ask a lot of questions because I'm curious and I want to know about people. And I look at my photography and my portrait work as kind of like little mini documentaries, or I'm trying to tell a story. I'm trying to capture the essence of that person. So the more I can know about them, the better. And I'm not talking about like, interrogating them or anything, but I just try and be conversational. I try and ask questions. I try and laugh a lot and just create an environment of like fun and play and openness. If you're a dude and you're photographing like women or other dudes, don't be a creep though. Don't be weird. If you're uncomfortable or shy or awkward, you got to get over that shit if you want to be a photographer. Other people, sometimes, you ask someone to get in front of you and pose or stand there while you point a camera at them, they're in a vulnerable state. They are doing something that's difficult, something I don't like doing. I don't like sitting here in front of this camera talking, really. I just made this commitment to do this YouTube thing, and now I have to do it. This is the hardest thing. That's why I'm drinking. Have some empathy. Have some compassion. Put yourself in that person's shoes. Treat them like you want to be treated. Whether they're a man or a woman or whatever, treat them like you want to be treated. Be interested. Be curious. Be respectful. Be kind. All that stuff radiates out from you, and we all sense each other. We sense this vibration. We sense feelings. Even if we can't put our finger on it, it's instinct. It all comes back to instinct. So get your shit straight. If you want to take pictures of people, get your interior shit straight, and you can connect with someone. And maybe you can take a good picture. Where did you store the money, Mr. White? You motherfuckers. Okay, that's 2 questions. Look, I know where you're going with this. I had a birthday like a month ago. I turned 48. I'm old. And I turned 48 the first day that I got out here into Nevada on the first stretch. This is the second stretch, but I was out here on a stretch. That was the last video you saw out here. I turned 48 on our first day of shooting. I didn't even tell the crew. Nobody knows my birthday. They still don't know. Because I don't like to advertise it because I'm fucking old. Before I came out here, I bought this hat. Boom. It's a Stetson. It wasn't a cheap hat. This is like the most expensive hat I've ever bought. I'll probably have it till I retire, which I never will, which means I'll probably have it for the rest of my life. It's a nice hat. I like it. I needed a broad-brimmed kind of hat that I could have to protect my bald fucking head. Am I cussing too much in this video? I'm blaming it on the beer. Anyways, so you guys are poking fun at me because of my hat. But I like it, and I don't care. Keep poking fun. It doesn't matter to me. Oh man, we still got like many questions left. Justy Just. I often question myself, why should I create work if I struggle to get noticed or even get my work seen? Do you have any advice on motivation and self-publication and getting noticed? Cheers, Justin. Justin. Do you have any advice on motivation and self-publication and getting noticed? Social media sucks. Everybody's pandering. Everybody's trying to be big and loud and get noticed. So you can get swipes and clicks and likes, and it's all bullshit, and none of it's going to last. I'm guilty of it too. I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it with this channel. I'm not on my high horse trying to tell you guys that I'm better than you. And I'm not the first one to say this. I'm not even the fucking 1,000th, millionth person to say this. It's just like, it's an amazing time that you can make things and you can blast it out there into the world, and potentially millions of people can see it, or 2 people can see it. When I was young, you couldn't do any of that. There was no internet. You couldn't get, like, you had to like go to a big city and write letters, and it was super freaking hard. It's still super freaking hard because everybody's blasting shit out there 24/7. So, Justin, I don't know. I don't know how you get noticed. I just wish you didn't care. Make work for you. Work on your craft. Work on your craft. Don't work on getting noticed. Just work on getting better. Work on making that art. Someday, if you get there, if you're good enough, maybe you'll get noticed. But the thing that matters most, the thing that's most important, is that you know that you're making something good. And you know that you're tapping in to some universal source, the flow. And to get there, you've got to work on your craft. So who cares if you get 5 little boop likes, or 100 or 500 or 5,000? It doesn't matter. That's not what it's about. It's about expressing yourself. It's about working on your craft, and it's about getting better. I hope I'm articulating that well enough. I did have 3 beers before I drank the 1.5 that I've drank in the process of this video. I'm going to talk more about this in the future. Don't do it to get noticed, you guys, because you're not going to. And it doesn't matter. Go out there and do it to get better. Go out there and do it to express yourself and to have something for you. The work that I do professionally now, making this series, it's going to get seen by millions of people. I've done work that's been seen by tens of, probably because it's been around the world, hundreds of millions of people. I don't even care. And most of those people don't even know who I am. Like 99.9999999% of them don't know who I am. I don't care. That's my job. The photography that you see, or what you see on my social channels, that's for me. I don't really care who else notices it. I'm not trying to do any of this stuff so that I get noticed or so that I get some kind of career or this is my job. Anything you see on this channel is just my personal work that I'm making for me, and I'm trying to take you on the journey, and I'm trying to inspire you. Sean Thornton, what are your thoughts on EV vehicles? Do you think they could have a real chance in the market? Come on, Sean, I think they're taking over. I think in about 5 or 10 or 20 years, that's all there's going to be. There's not going to be any gas-powered vehicles. I think there was this documentary 15 years ago or something, Who Killed the Electric Car? I don't think anybody killed it. I think the electric car is going strong. If I had a city job and an office job and I was driving to work every day, I'd probably get an electric car. I would want one. Seems fucking awesome. I travel a lot, and so oftentimes I don't drive. You've seen my 4Runner on the channel, right? I've had the same car. Bought it from my friend Edmund, who I mentioned earlier, who was a screenwriter and who was my partner in the early documentaries. I bought it from him like in 2004. I have a 1998 4Runner, so that's 23-year-old Toyota. It's really old now. It's not going to last a hell of a lot longer, but it's going strong and I love it, and I'm going to hang on to it as long as I can. When it dies, I'm going to get something newer and probably like a hybrid or something, but I love electric vehicles. If I lived right in a city and commuted to a job every day, that's what I'd have. Last question. We've gotten there. Dang. Explore, create, repeat. That's the name of the account that asked this question. I like that. This is a long question. Let me read it. I'm a firefighter, medic by trade, but have fallen in love with photography over the past couple years, and I'm self-teaching cinematography. I've found myself pulled in 10 directions on what to produce, and it's led to almost no meaningful work. How do I find the right project to focus on and find a voice within it while tuning out the noise? I thought gear would make me an artist. That has not been the case so far. Correctamundo. Gear will not make you an artist. This is a big question to unpack. I'm actually glad this is the last one. I'm a firefighter medic by trade. That's an awesome trade, and I had a point in my early 30s where I thought, maybe I should become a firefighter. If I could go back and do some things like over in life, I'd probably become a firefighter, medic, EMT kind of person, because the cool thing about that job, and I have friends that do it, is like you work like a couple days on, couple days off. So you have like, which is kind of what I do now. I go out on location and I'm just like sequestered and I don't have a lot of time for myself. I have to go make a show or make whatever I'm doing. Then I have a lot of time off. But it's pretty cool to be like a firefighter or a medic or something, work 48 hours or 72 hours on. Like we have some medics working with us now because what we're doing is kind of dangerous on this job. So, excuse me, beer. We have a couple different medics that rotate in and out depending, and they work 72-hour shifts at the local fire station, but they're EMT medics, and then they're doing OT and helping us out. But 72 on, 72 off, that sounds freaking awesome to me. You have a lot of time to do personal work in there. Like when you're at the station and you're doing your work, you can't do anything else, but you don't just have weekends off, you have 3-4 days off sometimes. Like a lot of time. A couple times a week. That's awesome. I'm a fan of that. Thank you for the service. How do I find the right project to focus on and find a voice within it while tuning out the noise? Okay, you know what makes good art? This is the gospel according to me. Limitations. Yeah, you're pulled in 10 different directions. All that. Get one little camera and one little lens and go out and make something and give yourself a deadline, because we can fiddle around and think we're going to do something or we're working on it and someday this is going to happen. No, the best thing you can do is cut out all the distractions, take one camera, one lens, and go, I'm going to give myself my 2 days off to tell a story. What story? I don't know. Go to your local coffee shop and tell the story of a day. You know the gal that works behind the counter? get her to introduce you to the owner, and then just go in there and photographically, if that's your thing, or motion, if you're into cinematography, go in there and make a short 5-minute documentary about the day in the life of your local coffee shop. And now, give yourself 4 days to make the damn thing. And after 4 days, you can't work on it anymore. You're done. So the best thing you can do for your creativity, for your craft, for your growth, and for making art is to not have everything, is to constrain, to tighten your world, and to have a date that you have to deliver and constraints. Like I'm making this show now. We're making an 8-episode series, and we're done in 4 days. So I just had a long conversation with the director right before I did this video. It's our day off, but he calls me and we're talking about, hey, this isn't working out and we have to do this. Okay, well, let's try and do this. Let's try and do that. Will these days work? Can we do this? Can we do that? There's always limitations, no matter what budget level, okay? But basically in 4 days, we have to have this whole fucking show done, all right? And it's 8 episodes. And there isn't money for extra days, and if we don't have it done, we have failed, and that's the reality. So we have to get creative, and shit isn't working out, and shit hasn't shown up, and people haven't delivered. It doesn't matter. We still have to do our job, and we have to deliver the show. So that's the reality, and that's life if you're a professional creative. So treat your creativity like a job. Give yourself deadlines and give yourself constraints. I have some pretty cool equipment on this show, and I've dialed it in, but it's relatively low budget and I don't have everything I wanted. And so I'm being very creative with what I do have, which is a small package and a small team, but we're doing pretty cool shit within our limitations. It's your limitations that actually shine a light on your creativity that will inspire you. It's not everything. So I think, Mr. Explore, Create, Repeat, whatever your name is. Did you say your name? No, you didn't. It's going to be your limitations that define your creativity. So fine, you are being pulled in 10 different ways. F that. Focus on one little thing and get really good at that. And when you're done, fine, find something else, move on to it and do that. It's going to open up a lot of things in your brain. Does that make sense? That's the last question. I think we're going to hang it up. You want to see some shots from the next 3 videos, which are already shot? Like, you want to see some footage? There's like 3 videos coming out. 2 portrait videos and then an exploration of a ghost town that I did a couple days ago. I'm pretty stoked about the next 3 videos after this one, and then some things that I have planned for after that. So I'm not trying to hype the channel or anything. I'm just saying that, like, I'm trying to do all this while I'm making a TV show full time, and it's really freaking hard. But I'm trying. Thanks for watching. Look, the moral of the story is here. If you take all this and distill it down, what am I saying? Trust your instincts. Work on your craft. If you do that, maybe someday you'll make some art. Keep trying. Less is more. Limitations define your creativity. Trust your instincts. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. I appreciate all of you.